cash. Los Angeles. Rock and roll. My money.
When will they stop?
Well, now. Long Beach, clear skies. And now, on with the show.
Welcome. It's Mornings on the Beach for your Saturday, Sunday infotainment. I'm Danny Lemos, and with me in studio,
Mike Stark.
Melanie Ray.
all of us here, all things Long Beach. It's what you can count on from us in here. And today on the show, we're going to take you into a little bit of Long Beach history that you may not be aware of. Because I found out about it being involved in the project, and we've invited some folks who were involved in a new podcast from Studio 111. Welcome to the show, Sinead Finnerty-Pyne.
You got it. Thank you. It's a mouthful, I realize, yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I do podcasts for a living, and I also got involved recently with the folks over at Studio 111. We sort of found each other and gravitated towards each other. And you had a project that you wanted to get started there. Explain how that started.
Yeah,
that
so we wanted to do a podcast, and we had this idea that we were going to call the podcast We've Never Done This Before. Because, well, first of all, we've never done a podcast, and we thought, well, this is sort of a part of our ethos. We like to step into the unknown. We like the unpredictable. We like the messiness of cities. So we thought, let's do a podcast about the projects that we do, about the challenges, and we can help teach people along the way about maybe how they can approach their project or something they've never done before.
And you have stories to tell because, well, explain what you guys do at Studio 111 to the folks that don't know.
Yeah, so we're a group of architects, urban designers, and landscape architects, and we're urbanists, so we're really about making cities more resilient, more sustainable, and more engaged. And we do that in practice. So we're very involved in the Long Beach community. Our office, actually, which is what our second episode is about moving from a tower on Ocean Boulevard down to the ground floor of the city, and how we sort of even sparked a design revolution in a district in the neighborhood that we're in.
And changed downtown in the process. I mean, so much of what's going on downtown, you guys have your fingers in.
We're kind of,
really.
We're kind of really involved, but we feel like, we want to be in a great environment, and we think we are in a great environment, but we need more people to come with us. I think it really kind of came out of COVID and feeling like people were leaving downtown, or that, a lot of businesses were moving out of downtown, and we sort of went the opposite direction. We just went all in, and we started attracting more creatives into our space to share it with us, because a lot of our staff was sort of hybrid, and they were, deciding they may want to live in other places. And we said, we have all this space and we have a wonderful environment. Let's bring more creatives here to share the space with us. And that has just snowballed into something amazing in return.
I think organically you can actually see it happening.
Right.
Because 3rd Street was kind of secondary to Pine Avenue. Now it's the other way around.
It seems that way, yeah.
And so it shows what you guys have brought to that area. So.
Yeah, well, thank you. And it's been over the course of time. I mean, we moved down in 2017, and we worked with actually the developer and property owner, Greg Gill from Lee & Associates. He's actually on the podcast, and he talks about they had the arts building, which they were starting to do interesting things in, and there was this sort of failed mall, like 2.0 failed mall concept across the street,
right.
That was going to turn into a dollar store. And, we thought, well, that could be an interesting space to set up shop. So you'll have to listen to the second episode to really get the full story.
But tease.
It's definitely, a lot of other things have come other than just converting the space. It's like, the landscaping in that neighborhood, bringing more public art, closing down the promenade to traffic so it becomes more of like a pedestrian area.
Right.
And then, other creatives want to be around where other creatives are, right? So the thing about office culture, maybe leaving creative office culture, something that still is very much alive. And that's what we've created there, like more of like an urban lab concept. So actually, we're working with the KLBP,
Right.
and you guys might be coming our way. I don't know.
And those who listen to the station know that we have that campaign that we just completed
Yes.
to get the studio over there. And the reason why was because I visited over there, and the feeling inside your offices is it's just electrifying. All these creative people at work do give off an energy of sorts. I felt it the moment we went in, right? And then saw the studio. and then the wheels got turning in there. And then, of course, we did a couple of activities outside, and some of our DJs saw that room and thought, oh, wouldn't this be great if... so we're moving on that. But most people don't realize that there are a group of folks who are dedicated to transitioning this city.
Yes.
It just doesn't happen out of anywhere.
No.
Right? And they're busy at it. And the way that you've invited creative people to be downtown, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
And-
it's definitely something that takes a lot of kind of persistence, and you just have to keep moving it forward. But we do have the Olympics coming in 2 years. We have a kind of a target right now. We have 2 years to really make things work. So there's a sense of
that's right.
urgency,
Yeah.
not just for the Olympics, for using the Olympics as an opportunity to keep moving this thing forward. But
Sure.
there was a lot of stagnancy that was really starting to feel and we felt that was an opportunity. We saw that kind of people maybe energy dipping as an opportunity to step in and elevate the energy.
I think that's when I moved to Long Beach, because I came down Pine Avenue. Well, it was probably 2006, and it just felt like nothing was happening here. That's not the same now. I love that it's lit up at night now, the streets. All the lights over Pine Avenue, people are out there. And of course, with creative people come restaurants. So we've got a whole, and that's part of the plan, apparently. We spoke to Greg Gill when we were doing the interviews for the podcast, and he shared with us how that was sort of his plan, to get tenants in there that would stick around, that would add value. And you think of what's been added right there on 3rd, Amatoli, Midnight Sun, you've got Sonora Town, all the things that bring people downtown at night. And then this weekend, because we have to mention this,
Yes.
what you guys are involved in, and we are also involved with you. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
the Art and Design Walk. So that's a quarterly event. It happens every season in the downtown. And it basically, we really want kind of everything that's happening on the inside of our buildings to come out and spill out into the outside.
Good way.
So I think that's where we we activate the promenades, we activate open spaces and corridors, but then we also have some pop-ups and creative spaces that are also opening. LBMA downtown is going to have an opening. Studio 111 is going to be activated. Ravens and the Wolves, the tattoo shop, is going to be doing some pop-up tattoos. We have Edison Theater and the Psychic Temple are going to do some amazing pop-ups with Renaissance High School, and also a resident called Pieces of Japan that has a really creative workshop going on in there. There's so much. I know I'm missing a lot of them. But
there's the light display also.
Oh, and then we have a new piece called Long
Yeah.
Beach Lights, which is actually a really cool group called People's Architecture Office that are housed inside Studio 111, and they designed some neon lights that are out on the promenade. They're having a ribbon cutting for
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And there's also going to be a design film festival called Designing Resistance that's opening at the Art Theater in a couple weeks. They're doing a pop-up in our space to kind of tease out their project. There's a lot to see, so come on down.
We put the word out, and 5 of our DJs are going to be there. We're going to broadcast
Yes.
the whole day live from 2 to 7. We'll be on the air, hoping to get you down to come visit with us. So we'll be out there 3rd in the promenade, and the artists, I forget what it's called.
The Art and Design Village.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Where all the artists are.
And that's today.
That is today, if you're listening right now. If you're listening on Sunday,
Sorry.
that was yesterday. But let's get Kathy in here for a
Yes.
second, too. Kathy is one of the producers on the podcast. Actually, Kathy takes all the raw materials we give her and assembles it into a beautiful job, by the way. I finally got a chance to hear the finished product.
So yeah, I was actually feels really grateful to be a part of this entire process, which requires a lot of back and forth
Right.
just to get the context accurate and to share it with everyone. And I do feel rewarding after the entire process. And I'm glad I'm a part of this story, and also get to be a part of people in this office to work with them, because there's always a lot of good energies in the office and people kind of like-minded people to just share the workplace together. And which is amazing to be a part
That's
of
great.
it.
Did you come to Studio 111 to be a podcast producer?
That's definitely not my main job, but I'm glad I'm just be a part of it.
That's great.
I can actually say that Kathy was an intern with Heather Barker's program at Cal State Long Beach.
Oh, no kidding.
And that's how we met Kathy, and that's how she came to the studio. So it
Wow,
was
that's
it
great.
was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
wonderful. So we're going to take a break, hear some music. When we come back, we're going to be talking also to Jacob Sisneros of the Long Beach Post about some stories he's got. And then we're going to hear in the second half of our show, we're going to hear the podcast presented to our audience, and also tease you to go get episode number 2, which is up there. So Sinead Finnerty-Pyne and Kathy Lim, thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks, guys.
And being
Thank you
part
for
of this.
having us.
Thank you for
We're
having
so proud.
us.
And go home. Now, you'll be able to get home in time to listen.
Okay, perfect. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Excellent. Mike, we're going to music.
Yeah, we got a brand new song from U2, In a Life. All right, brand new music from U2
great.
and In a Life.
They're still doing it, huh?
They just put out an EP. It's got 3 or 4 cuts, and they're promising a full-length album that'll address many of the issues of the day.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
It's Mornings on the Beach for your Saturday, Sunday morning. Danny Lemos right there.
Mike Stark.
Melanie Ray.
And over here, we've got him back. Jacob Sisneros
He's
is
back.
in the house with us.
Hey, happy to be back.
Welcome.
Hello.
Busy day in the booth.
All kinds of things going on this week for sure. And the article that you sent along, or actually published, is interesting to us, of course, because we want to get the story out for Long Beach and people losing their housing vouchers. What's going on?
Yeah, it's really complicated, so I'm going to try to make it
Okay,
as simple
please.
as possible, but please interrupt. Emergency housing vouchers were started in 2021 under the Biden administration. They're meant to run through 2030, and they were unique because they covered a lot that wasn't covered under other vouchers. They could pay for somebody's security deposit. They could clear old utility
really?
debt, anything to get somebody into housing that was a barrier before, essentially. And it was for people who lost their jobs during COVID, people who were chronically homeless or at risk of being homeless. It was a great program that got used up pretty quickly in Long Beach. We had 582 vouchers. They were used up by 2024. And essentially, the program ran out of money quicker than anticipated because rent has gone not down.
Yeah, there
it's
you
gone
go.
the other direction. So they've known since March 2025, the Housing and Urban Development Department said, hey, Congress chose not to renew this. We know it's going to run out of money. It's up to you kind of how quickly it runs out of money. Try to stretch it as far as you can. Long Beach told us in February, I think that it was going to run out of money in August. Now that's October, so that's a little better, a little more runway.
Oh, yeah.
But they just definitively said last week that we can only keep 125 of these households on this voucher by switching them to another voucher.
Wow. So are these vouchers given regularly or just once?
This was a one-time program. It needed congressional approval to renew it because it's a lot of money. Long Beach alone is spending $800,000 a month just on those 500 vouchers. So it's pretty all-encompassing for the people that it covers. But yeah, it's
was this normal, or is this part of what's being levied against California in response to the way the president feels about us?
Yeah, it could be a mix of all that. A lot of our local Congress people pulled for them to renew a program like this because they knew the impact of putting these people back on the streets or
Right.
putting them at risk of getting back on the streets. So it could be a bit of that. It could be it was too costly to keep running for longer than that because there are already voucher programs that they do renew funding for year after year. And they decide whether to increase that funding or decrease based on the federal budget. That's way above my pay grade, but that's my understanding of it.
Are there any plans or any word about what might plans be for a contingency program past that date?
Yeah, I'm looking into that right now. I'm sure there are pockets of money that the city's trying to access. I think they're going to get some County Measure A funding. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to dole that out to maybe help this, but that's the next step in the process is they decide who gets what households aren't eligible to stay on it by transferring to another voucher, and they have to kind of do that case by case based on, if someone has a kid in the household or some other form of thing that's a barrier to them continuing to get work. But I'm sure, unfortunately, the city's programs are spread pretty thin, and funding's an issue. Yeah. So there's not a whole lot of new money they can throw at.
And this right after last week's story about allegations of fraud against the folks and removing that contract from that contractor.
Yeah.
With all the housing problems we have, it just exacerbates it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Yeah. Unfortunately, like most things, we're not going to find out quickly. It's going through a process in court, is my understanding. Yeah. So they won't say anything until a judge decides who's in the wrong. But it doesn't pass the sniff test from the outside.
What I found interesting was that while they're looking through this as an investigation, then they decided to stop it.
Yeah.
In other words, they found something. They're not going to share it with us yet, but they found something enough to say, wait a minute, hold up. We got to end this right now and transfer that to the Path Corporation or organization that's running it now.
Yeah.
So it just brings another level of headache here in Long Beach. And if they could recover some of that fraud money, well, there you go. What a great place to put it. But wow, that's anything else that's happening that you've got your finger on the pulse of?
Kate wrote a story. Kate Raphael, our education reporter, she dipped out of education for a second to write about a new sign that's coming to Cambodia Town, an entrance way to Cambodia Town.
No kidding.
I didn't get all the way through it, but that's the long and short of it. Is they're planning to build a grand entrance so you know when you're entering Cambodia Town.
No kidding.
Which is pretty cool.
Do you know where that will be located?
I do not, unfortunately. I just know what is it? Anaheim and Cherry. I always know him in Cambodia Town.
Oh, that's so
You can
great.
read about it in the Long Beach Post.
You can.
It's
Absolutely.
already there.
Now, and I want to ask him, you probably don't know the answer, but I always want to know, is it Zephyria? Is it, or Zafaria? That area, first of all, that's a new thing for me. I didn't realize that was a district until I saw the signs.
I've always heard Zephyria.
Zephyria?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get a definitive answer. Tell
we
Kate
do.
to get on it.
That's the next story. Is how do you pronounce Zephyria?
Yeah, that's true. And also, what are the other neighborhoods in Long Beach that you may not know about? You know, we've got all these different cultural neighborhoods that are going on. And Cambodia turned right out of Aldi right into the parade the other day.
Yeah.
And I kept going across the intersection. I would have been in the parade waving. But I thought, and then we had to go around. It was a big deal, man. They blocked off a lot of space there for the parade. But it's a big deal now. It's gotten so huge, the Cambodian festival.
Yeah, it's cool to see how much it's grown.
Yeah, that's great. Here in Long Beach, we have the favorite pet contest we mentioned last week. I just wanted to update people who were listening that Boomer is registered. However, our mascot, and I think Mornings on the Beach is going to get behind Shelly the tortoise, who entered last week after hearing it on our show. Remember, I invited her and she did. So that's going to be, what's going to happen is if she's selected for a finalist, then we'll have to prompt people to go ahead and vote for her, and we want to make her the winner. I think a tortoise winning the Long Beach's favorite pet contest would be awesome, and Boomer coming in second maybe, if that's the case. But Melanie brought a story with us.
I was desperate for good news. I don't know about you. So I literally Googled good news today, and I found the good news out of Boise, of all places, because there's a new law in Idaho that you cannot fly the gay pride flag. And if over government buildings, run government buildings. No, but that's on its way. I mean, let's face it. So, and if any city that does is fined $2,000 per day per flag, because right now we really need to focus.
Really?
Yes, we really need to focus on flags. That's
right.
utmost
That's
important. So Boise, Idaho, they're forced to take the flag down over the Capitol. But what they did do was take like duct tape, multicolored duct tape, and do rainbows around posts all over downtown, because that is legal and really hard to take off, by the way.
But we should look at the legislation, because if it says you can't fly the flag on the building or above the building, right?
Right.
Maybe you can fly it on the building.
Well, this is what people are doing, and I picked this story because it's resistance, and it's people. You know, I can't remember her name. The mayor of Boise was saying, we just want to indicate it's not a political statement. It's just indicating that you're safe here.
Right.
That this community is safe in Boise, and I like that it's resisting a ridiculous law, and I like that the message behind it is really, will protect you. They also put rainbow lights in the windows.
There you go.
Right? So they are in the government building.
And if somebody's out there got a van that you can put a light bar on top and focus the colors against that would be awesome. Light up the building.
Right. Well, and you've seen those projections,
yes, that's
right?
That'd be awesome.
That, if figure it out. That's that's guerrilla art.
I love that.
And coming out of a government building is something I respect. So right on, Boise. And I never thought I'd say that.
I love that. And looking for good news, too, she's right. You have to scroll a lot to look for something that's got to be, a feel-good story. And I don't know if this is feel-good, but if you're like me, you're enjoying more and more lately chicken thighs, and you're not alone. Apparently, there's a trend in the nation towards chicken thighs instead of white meat. Why do you think?
Because they taste better.
Well, that's one thing. They say with the rise of Korean cooking and Japanese cooking, the flavor's better from a chicken thigh, and I know this.
Well, and the breast is dry.
It is.
Breasts are dry.
Yeah, and then not only that, but of course there's the price. If you've been shopping for chicken, the chicken thighs are a lot cheaper, and because there's fat content in there. But
that's why they're tasty.
I'm starting a new campaign called "Fat is Life." You can't get rid of everything. We can get rid of the gluten. Yeah, that's all right.
I have 2 thawing in my refrigerator right now.
I love to cook
with the garlic sauce from Versailles that I bought last week, and they're waiting for me in my
Let's
fridge.
head over there after the show.
I know, right?
Let's transition this to a cooking show.
Yes.
Why not? No, Boomer gets chicken thighs. I braise them for him every week.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. And he gets that with
Olive
his-
gets ground turkey.
Oh. He's better than we do. I don't eat meat, so he's better than I do. That's awesome. Well, Jacob, I just want to, we sort of got on a run here, but anything else that could be considered maybe good news?
Please.
I'm just teasing. But is there?
I'm trying to rack my brain, but I want to try the new Indian spot that opened down the street. The Rich
Right
Indian
across the
cuisine.
street from us
I know.
here at
We've been
KLVP
seeing that sign
Pine.
coming soon for a long time.
Yes.
So good to see it's finally
met him.
open.
That's great. And then, of course, have you been to Marathon yet and had a burger there?
No, that's I haven't been over there yet, but that's one of my favorite things about Long Beach is whenever I used to write about food and I'd walk in and just, is the owner here? The owner's always there.
Yeah,
So,
You're right. You're right. And then there's so many great places that are opening up. I like that.
Yeah.
The Peruvian restaurant right above us here, next door to Shannon's, is open. What did he say? It was open on Thursdays through Sundays. Sometimes not on Sundays, but you got to come down and figure it out. But there's great food there, and there's all kinds of different. What is it called? The Mediterranean restaurant next to Marathon.
Saffron?
Yeah, Saffron. What a great restaurant. And he's tucked way back. You got to find him, and it's worth it. So that's awesome. So many good things happening in downtown. You want to stay on top of everything. First, KLVP, and then couple that with the Long Beach Post, and we've got you covered.
Yeah.
All over Long Beach. So thank you, Jacob, for coming by.
My pleasure.
And anytime, obviously the door's open, and he found it. See? That's
Never
great.
gotten lost yet.
All right, we got to go to music.
Music. And this isn't a reflection, Jacob, but the song is called Go Away.
I didn't think of that.
And it's by Weezer.
That's great.
All right, that's Weezer and Go Away.
That Mornings on the Beach is where you're at right here. I'm Danny Lemos.
I'm Mike Stark.
I'm Melanie Ray.
And now I promised you that we'd hear the podcast that I helped produce for Studio 111, and here it is.
I was a student. I was originally born in Germany, came to the United States, actually specifically to Long Beach to perform an internship. And I ended up in Long Beach. It looked really cool on the map. I looked it up on the globe and I'm like, oh, I want to go there.
That was September 15th, 1989. Kasdan Kasteiner arrived in Long Beach for an internship with the shipping company.
It was really difficult for me to understand how to live here. Ending up in Long Beach and not having a car, I didn't even know what to do. So I was really limited in the beginning. So I didn't make many friends. And then I don't even think I can say I loved it here. And then all of a sudden, after 4 months, I met people and I started exploring. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. I like it here.
Another convert to Long Beach factors into our story. A student at Cal State Long Beach studying costume design.
I was living in a garage apartment adjacent to 4th Street, which is actually behind the building where I have my shop now. So I've always been around Long Beach. I mean, I used to shop down here, vintage and thrift, back when I couldn't even drive, because 4th Street was always known for having alternative kind of stores because the rents were really cheap. The stores were few and far between, but all the way from downtown, all the way up 4th, and all the way down the Broadway corridor also.
That's Kathleen Schaff, which brings us to the location of our story today, 4th Street in Long Beach, California, commonly known as Retro Row. Welcome to the first episode of We've Never Done This Before. I'm your host, Alan Pullman. We've Never Done This Before is a podcast produced by Studio 111 that dives into the journey of our design projects, specifically those that take us into uncharted territory. Each episode will explore how we approach a new typology, the evolution of the project, and how our philosophy of remaining open to new ideas, rather than positioning ourselves as experts, shape the final outcome. This first episode is a perfect example of that. In addition to Kasdan and Kathleen, I also was settling down in Long Beach. About that time, Kasdan's roots had begun to take hold and sprout in Long Beach.
At one point in 92, met somebody, got married, and we opened Portfolio Coffee House together. And it was more so me being a business major and him more the artist. So I did the business end of it, and then learned, the world of coffee, and it was kind of interesting. And so I full on dove into this, and I loved connecting with people. And I think this is what this did. We technically opened as an art gallery first, but we always made coffee, and people came back for the coffee. They didn't come back for the art, so they came back for the coffee.
Well, all of a sudden, other little businesses started popping up, like a coffee shop opened, and then Portfolio opened up, but there was nothing like in between. So gradually people just started talking to each other. And then Kathy and Gary Tesh opened Siren on the corner, which was a gift shop, an artisan gift shop. And I remember we were all just talking and doing things around the neighborhood. We weren't that organized. We'd do cleanups, that kind of thing, because it was a dark, dusty little stretch.
Little did I know at the time that our stories were on course to intersect, and that's how I became part of this story. I found myself without much intention working for firms doing commercial projects, mostly retail, malls and shopping centers, and I found out I was really good at that, and I did that for about 10 years. I didn't like doing that kind of work for many reasons, but I felt this is not why I became an architect. To design shopping centers? And there's nothing wrong with shopping centers, but it was not what I wanted to do. My career was going well in one sense, but in the other sense, it wasn't really rewarding. Then, randomly, someone gave me a request for proposal for a competition to design some facades here in Long Beach. I had moved to Long Beach. I liked the vibe here, bought a house in Long Beach near Retro Row, which brings us to the project that would bring us together today.
When we opened Portfolio, it was just Portfolio on the corner, and there was one other open storefront, and that was Meow. Meow is a clothing store, and Kathleen is still there to this day. She's one of the oldest, vintage clothing stores, and every single building was boarded up.
And you had names for everybody. You knew there's Plastic Man, there was the Duchess. So, and we live in a big city, so it was a little seedy, but you just watch both ways when you walk out the door. But getting people from other areas to shop there, they weren't really keen on what they saw. They'd be clutching their purses and their pearls.
4th and Cherry was kind of dangerous. The liquor store had shootings. I mean, I was told that was not an area to go towards. Just nobody cared. But which is kind of interesting because it's really juxtaposition to, there's Carroll Park and there's the Bluff. I mean, there are some really nice, affluent areas right behind it. But that 4th Street corridor was really neglected.
On 4th Street, had a lot of artists in residence from Cal State Long Beach, because a art teacher could actually rent a whole storefront and have a place to do their art for probably $300-400 and be left to themselves. So there's a lot of vacancies there, and you wouldn't really know people were living in the buildings. There was a teeny bit of commerce down there, but it was mostly like a used bookstore called Smitty's, but we called it Smutty's because he had all the porn in the back. It was quite interesting.
I remember with my enthusiasm and my German background, I wanted to make things better, and this needed to be cleaned up. So I organized with Kathleen from Meow and another store owner, and we did this cleanup every single Saturday morning. We just had a broom, a bucket, and we would sweep the street, dust the cobwebs, and we just wanted to take ownership of the neighborhood. And we hoped that others would, follow.
I think one day we got together at Siren and started talking about organizing and doing things like more than just cleanups. Maybe we could do some ads, in the Grunion. And so we just started pooling our money, like $25 kind of dues. We were not, the city didn't even really know that we existed at that time.
And then at one point we did notice that other stores were kind of slowly moving in. And as soon as somebody, opened up, we would connect with them. We would bring them into our little group. We would meet, we would clean up, and we did this forever.
It was just small, independent businesses with independent minding people just running their shops, and just having more and more people find out about us and travel there.
And then I finally learned that the city of Long Beach was offering this facade improvement grant. And so Portfolio was kind of the meeting hub for this group. We would meet, we would canoodle what we're going to do and how can we make things better. And clearly, a coat of paint and some, lipstick on a pig was needed for that area.
We had heard about grants that you could get from the city. And we had applied for some. And I think actually we had made ourselves look too good. So we had a photographer that lived on residence in the street. And the next time he went out and took pictures of the block, he made them look a little darker and we threw some trash in. So I think that really helped us, the city, to go, hey, we need to get over there and do something with these folks.
I don't even know how many people applied for the grant, but at the end of the day, all it counts is that we were awarded the grant to fix up the south side of the street between Junipero and Cherry Avenue.
I remember starting a committee to interview architects. And it was myself and Greg Pickens from Artists Reaching Kids, which was the gallery that was next door to me that had taken over the old furniture store. So we would just all volunteer for things. And I'm like, cool. Let's go meet the architects.
The city was supporting their efforts to revitalize 4th Street and put out what they call a request for proposals. I randomly got that request for proposals through somebody I knew who said, you live in Long Beach, maybe you should go after this. And I saw it, and immediately I had a feeling this could be important. It just was more of an intuition than anything else. And so I put everything I had into responding to that RFP. It was the first time I had a chance to work locally. I could walk to their stretch of street from my house, and that was really so fantastic for me. I had not met Kathleen or Kasdan. The first time I met them was when I walked into the interview. That we were shortlisted for the project, and they interviewed us. Although I knew Kasdan from her famous coffee shop Portfolio, which was actually a bit intimidating to me because it was really cool.
So we went downtown to City Hall, and we've interviewed 3 or 4 different architects, and they come in and show us their little presentation and stuff.
It was not a little tough to read them. They were stone cold, sitting looking at me, and I had no idea if they heard what I said, if I was making a connection at all. I told a joke. It wasn't too funny, but they did not laugh. They didn't even crack a smile. So I walked out of that meeting thinking, I know what I'm trying to do is right, but I have no idea if I got through to them.
But it's when Alan opened his mouth and just talked to us like a normal person that I remember halfway through the interview, I just looked at Greg and said, oh, he gets us. That's our guy. I don't need to see anybody else. He just got us,
Well, the city was part of the process. They were in the room, and maybe 2 weeks later they called and said, oh, you got the job. Very nonchalantly. I was ecstatic. I really was.
And we clicked. I mean, we were probably, I think we are kind of about the same age, and we're both enthusiastic. And at the time, Alan, there was no large Studio 111. It was just Alan Pullman, trying to make it through the world and becoming a better architect. But we really connected over 4th Street because he understood. I could have not wished for a better person to work with. It was not somebody that was kind of telling me how this should be and what it should look like. It was somebody that really captured what I saw, the vision of 4th Street. And he understood that we could not make this like a corporate shopping mall. He immediately gathered this was really special and this was independent. And we had to think out of the box. And he did.
The first steps on that project were to walk the street more, meet with the individual property owners and the merchants. Understand what their vision was. What were the issues they were trying to solve for? What did they need? Some of them needed a new sign. Some of them needed their stores repainted. Some needed better lighting. And through all that process of intake on needs, come up with a vision of what that street could be.
At the time, what I saw is I wanted to maintain that independent, small shop owners feeling. I mean, even at the time, I had seen large shopping malls, things that I was not used to from Germany. I am used to small storefronts, shop owners that care for their little street and block. Ownership like that, to me, really was difficult to find here. I found, strip malls and they all look the same and the signing is uniform. And I was like, oh, that's not what I want. I want for every single business to speak their own language to the world and announce who they were.
I came up with the idea that the street was fairly long and there would be 3 different districts with different vibe in each district. And I presented that to the stakeholders, Kathleen and Kasdan, and another stakeholder, Janine, who was part of that group. And they liked everything that was being shown. The idea was to build on what was there, not insert anything new to the street, but build it organically, building by building, shop by shop. And they liked that. We weren't trying to turn it into a strip mall. We weren't trying to turn it into something that wasn't authentic to that vibe of the street.
Janine McWhirter, she shared that same vision. She owned an art store. She sold art, like an art store as in an art gallery, I should say. And she featured many artists. It was from jewelry to fine arts. And, she was just an independent thinker, like we were, and she shared that vision. I mean, we had to do things that we had never done. We had to meet with lighting consultant. We had to meet with sign designers and, and of course, meeting with Alan Pullman. And then we had to bring everyone on the street together because we didn't want this to, we didn't want to present this to everyone and hear this is what we're doing. No, we wanted everyone's input.
Nobody really owned their businesses. They all had to deal with landlords. And that was a big education for me to have to get a list of everybody and have to get sign-offs. And not everybody, a lot of absentee landlords, a lot of people it's my business. It's okay. No, you don't understand. We need better lighting. Do you understand? Just by lighting your business at night, that's advertising when people are driving by in their cars. And just, getting a hold of people and having write off on it. Hey, it's not going to cost you anything. Really honest.
Like any project of any size, not everything went according to plan.
We had a major snag. I think it was the lighting. I think we ended up, mind you, a lot of things were designated by the city. So, here is your lighting person. And we ended with somebody that, look, I had never done this. And I think in hindsight only did we figure this out. This was not ideal, but all the lighting that was installed was interior lighting. And this person clearly did not understand that exterior lighting was different from interior lighting. And so many of the fixtures may have looked nice, but were not, this was not the proper use. So, over time, we had to think quickly and make changes and kind of course correct. So there were a lot of learning lessons, because also this was, look, I sell coffee and Janine was selling art. Neither of us was in the building industry, so this is not what we do for a living.
What was fantastic about that street, it had a sense of community already. Everyone felt like pulling together was the way that they all could succeed. So no one was looking out only for their own interest at that time. And that was refreshing and fantastic to work with. And it really inspired a lot of the ideas that came out. Little by little, you could feel the mood of the street beginning to change.
The first moment was paint going up. I think that was just huge. And it was not your typical, Navajo beige or whatever was the flavor of the year in commercial construction. No, we picked some colors. We really did pick some colors. And it was so wonderful.
I think that's when we were able to sit outside and watch the world go by, not behind glass anymore. When Kasdan and Jan started redoing the theater and the wine bar was there, and just sitting outside and going, wow, this is really different perspective of my neighborhood. This is really cool. This is kind of unifying.
And then there's individual shop owners that actually took some liberty and said, oh, I'm a tile person. I can do that, and finish their own tile. And Alan said, okay, well, this is, special, and we're going to do a different tile for them. And so we really were able to just kind of highlight certain, individual buildings. And so we didn't treat this as like one long strip. We treated this as like each individual building had their own flavor, which I thought was amazing.
Whenever you design something and then it actually gets implemented, you get this really fantastic feeling like, oh, I thought about this, I drew this, our team put it together, and now it's actually physically happening. And when you see that, it is a fantastic feeling. I will not deny it. It's what you work towards. When we saw this project and I saw the results, the lights went on at night, the signs went up, it really felt that the street had a new vigor, but it was still the same street. We didn't do a grand transformation. We just boosted what was there already. And because of that incredible merchant sort of association, the connection they had, I knew they pulled together to make things happen. I just would walk the street a lot more and see some new improvements besides what we had already done. When a tenant went out, a new tenant came in and maintained what was there. And over time, what was fantastic about this project is it actually got better. It got better from what we started. People started to invest even more in the street. Actually, the street has been just such a pleasure to go and see it evolve. I think COVID probably was a setback to a certain extent, like every place else.
The riots did not help. The second riots did not help. But by that time, we were super grounded and organized and really could look out for ourselves. That's the thing. Some natural disaster or national disaster goes down, 4th Street's where I want to be because I know people have my back, and we can take care of ourselves. We found that out.
I just remember once being in one of the coffee shops and somebody saying, "This is so great. This is a great street." And just overhearing that, I didn't want to say anything, but just overhearing that was the kind of feedback you love to hear because you see that the work you're doing is resonating with people, and it's really fantastic. And then over the years, we did that facade project, but we've been involved in multiple iterations, multiple improvements, some small, some larger. My partner, Michael Bond, came in and helped restore one of the cafes into a really great, iconic restaurant there, Lola's, and he worked on the first parklet there. We've done other subsequent parklets up and down the street. So we've stayed involved, and I think that's one of the things that we loved about that project that we think is important as a practice is we don't want to just come into a neighborhood, do a project and leave. We love that continued engagement because when you think about a community, it's never static. It's always evolving.
The value that I find when I travel is when I find an independent area that shows me something about this town. And it shows me more than just your chain store because I can find that anywhere. And that is the value for me. Now Retro Row is on every map. Now we are a selling point. If I look at a realtor's portfolio, close at Retro Row adjacent, that is the value that I put on this because we're now a commodity, where we add value. Clearly there's value in my heart because I feel strongly about this area and I love this and I love walking down the street. I live there. My life has circled around very few blocks there. So I love that. But to finally have that recognition and have that voice, and, walking into a city council meeting and there's Retro Row and this is our opinion, and now folks are listening, and that feels great.
What is very rewarding to me is that my kids, who are now, late teenagers, this is their street. They hang out there. They think it's the best street in Long Beach. If they're in college now, when they come home, they want to go there. They want to go to the coffee shops there. They want to go to the stores there. So it resonates with me because I see it, and even in my own family, how great a street it is and how it's still maintained its authenticity, its feeling. It hasn't overly gentrified, I should say. I think everything does a little bit, but it still has a really fantastic feeling that's unique, that you can't replicate no matter how you try.
Long Beach is very special, and I really appreciate Long Beach because it is so incredibly diverse. It has so much to offer, but it also offers kind of the small town feel. I'm not living in LA. I'm not lost. I have a community, and I connected with the community, obviously. And I am so proud of that. I'm not proud of anything other than, having had the opportunity to have the space that I was able to share for 32 years. And now, a different space. But I think we're just in Long Beach, we're just a little different.
What it looks like now, it's like the new Main Street. We don't need to have a bank because everybody can do that online. But it's gone beyond what I even imagined it could be. And it has extended up to Temple much faster than I thought it would take a long time.
One of the ways of measuring success is just seeing over time how people are taking care of the properties and the businesses. We have done a lot of facade improvement projects. And sometimes we'll go into an area and the storefronts are fairly sad. The buildings haven't been painted. The signage is broken. There's a lot of security bars up, and it's very foreboding looking. And we go in and can help clean it up. But maybe 2, 3, 5 years later, it has reverted back to the way it was. A sign of success for us, and this one really proves it, is when those investments actually spur additional investments, additional care, and the street actually evolves beyond that initial improvement phase. And that's a sign of success. I think 4th Street has definitely been one of the most successful projects we've done in that regard. I think that main streets are really important to communities. They're the place where local entrepreneurs are building a business, and when you shop locally, that money stays in the community versus going out to some corporate chain someplace else. It also is important, I think, to a community to have a place that is unique, that isn't generic, that really feels like it's connected to the needs of the people that live there. So I think these kind of projects are really important because there are a lot of forces, we have to admit, that want to build more generic corporate shopping centers that really suck a little bit of the uniqueness and liveliness and economic vitality out of communities. They make money for some people, but they don't really give back as much as they take. And I think a main street such as 4th Street is a place where you give and you get back as much as you give. So it's a symbiotic relationship that I think it makes the community unique. It's really special. I just, again, gauge it from how my kids go there. And when visitors come to town, I want to go there and take them there. This project was definitely a turning point for me because up until that point, I had been working on projects that were commercial shopping centers like a mall. And I had been doing that work fairly successfully, but not really feeling a lot of reward for it. And I realized at some point I was maybe ruining the local commerce by putting in this large shopping center. Maybe I was ruining Main Street. And then all of a sudden I have a chance to actually restore Main Street, add to a Main Street, give it a boost. And I realized, oh, this is what I want to do. I need to stop doing that other work. So it was a turning point, and it's really the evolution of how Studio 111 started. It's also something that bonded me to my partner, Michael Bond, because he came from the same exact experience working on some fantastic main streets that I really admired in Bellflower. And so we had this both of us had this experience of working on these Main Street revitalization programs. And I think it really gave us the DNA of our company. Like, go in, make what's there better, work with the local community, and build community that way.
Got the best testimonial like a couple of weeks ago. This skater guy rolled in toward the end of the day, and I was just getting ready to close, and he said, "You don't understand what your store in the street means to me. If it wasn't for me being able to come down and go to the skate park at Cherry every day and come and hit the stores and hang out, I would have been in a gang." And he goes, "I'm so glad that you're still here." And that just meant so much to me. And I was able to share that with our board of directors, because we don't always see all the positives or hear it. It's so easy for people to be negative now, and especially online, online forums. So it is nice to hear that we've impacted people and we mean something to them.
The We've Never Done This Before podcast, episode 1, The Retro Rose Story, was produced for Studio 111 by Danny Lemos Creative. Directed and written by Danny Lemos, co-produced by Sinead Finnerty-Pyne. Special thanks to Kathleen Schaff of Meow Vintage and Kasdan Kastiner of Alder and Sage. For more information about Studio 111, visit us at studio-111.com.
I really am proud of that. That's a really,
You should
No,
be.
that's
It was
amazing.
a great project. Took forever.
Yeah.
Well done.
I know you've been working on it a while.
And I want to say you can find that podcast if you search Spotify for We've Never Done This Before. And also search Spotify for Mornings on the Beach, where you can find some of our past episodes. Some of the interviews we got, they're all there by the name of the person being interviewed.
Yep.
So if you want to check it out, it's on Spotify. You'll see that there. And I think that's pretty much all we've really got time for today.
Lots of guests. Take care.
And boom.